I'm out here in the desert today, and I just took a couple shots at 300 yards with the 95 grain Sierra Match King in the 224 Valkyrie, and we can see two of them came real close to each other, and then that third one right there. And I'm shooting off of shooter sticks sitting on my butt, and they're totally stable out to 300 yards so far, and with a decent grouping for the setup that I had going. So I'm not worried about these being stable. We'll keep pushing them back and see how they keep flying.
Hey, what's going on, guys? In this video, I want to talk about the results I've been getting with 224 Valkyrie, as well as kind of a video response to a couple other videos that I've seen on the 224 Valkyrie recently. I just want to kind of put my opinions out there as well, just to be kind of part of the conversation, and then get some comments rolling in my videos, just see how you guys feel about it, and just things of that nature. So we'll start off. I recently went out and did that UPR 15 hits the mark. If you haven't seen that, please check it out. It's just a fun, cool video shooting a couple hundred yards, like in a sitting position as well as like a crouched, putting your rifle over a bag position. And it's just cinematic. There's no talking, there's no details, no specs, anything. It's just me showing up with the rifle, shooting some targets, and then getting out of there. That's all it is. So please check it out if you have a minute. It's pretty short, like 4 minutes or so. So in that, in setting up the video, I had to get my dope dialed in and make sure I was hitting my targets and all that. I actually didn't have the rifle zeroed when I showed up. I had swapped scopes just before I went out. I put the Vortex Viper PST on there, and I just had to get it zeroed in. So I ended up doing a 200 yard zero to make it simple. So I had a 200 yard target as well as a 300 yard target. Now, I was shooting the Sierra 95 grain Match Kings, which are a 22 caliber out of the 224 Valkyrie. Real quick, let's cover the rifle specs up front. That way nobody's confused what we're talking about. This is a bolt action AR-15 upper. I've got a chamber flag sitting in here, which is what this is. So I know that this is clear. It is a true bolt action. 3-lug action, lift, pull, extracts your stuff, and then it feeds from an AR-15 magazine. Very cool system. This is a Valkyrie Precision upper. They're made here in Utah. Really great company. Please check them out. I link them in almost all of my videos. Any videos that has a rifle that's a bolt action upper, there will be links in the description for it. So the rifle itself, bolt action AR-15, a 22-inch 1-to-7 twist barrel on it. I've got a Wit Machine muzzle rise eliminator on the end of it. Wit Machine makes awesome brakes. They're based out of Colorado. If you have a rifle that isn't threaded but you want a muzzle brake, Wit Machine sells clamp-on brakes, and I've used them on 2 separate rifles that I've owned. They work excellent. I highly suggest them if you don't want to pay the money to have it sent to a gunsmith and to have them thread your barrel. I think they're like 70 bucks, but they run, I think they're 90 bucks, but they run sales every now and then and give you a really good deal on them, like 25% off. It's a really awesome sale. Anyway, 22-inch barrel, 1-to-7 twist. Now, that's a huge thing that comes up all the time, is what twist rate does 224 Valkyrie really need? Now, I'm shooting the 95 grain, which is the heaviest bullet available that I know of right now in 22 caliber. Definitely the heaviest match bullet that I know of. And I've gone out and I did just 1 round of load development. I went and shot some Reloader 17. I shot 25.5 grains, 26 grains, and 26.5 grains. It's a touch over max from Sierra's data, and it is getting crunchy with that. When you see the bullet, it's really pushing into the powder. There's no extra room left. This case is full of Reloader 17 with this 95 grain in here when it's seated to magazine length, which all of mine are. So the muzzle velocity on mine is actually really close to what Sierra says to expect. I think I was getting like 25-45 feet per second, and I think on their little chart to give you an idea of the velocity you're looking at, it was right around 2500 to 2550. So I'm right in there where I should be. I thought I was a little bit lower than where I needed to be, but it turns out I'm actually right where Sierra says I should be. So I do want to try and push them a little bit harder just to see what happens. I don't know if I even can though, because I'm out of space in the case for powder. Anyway, I went out and did 1 round of load development, and across the 3 different charges that I shot, the first group was it a 4-shot group? I think it was a 3-shot group. The first group I shot was under an inch. The second group I shot, which was 4 shots, was under an inch. And the third group that I shot was under an inch. So all 3 of them right out of the gate, 1 trip of low development, and all of them stabilized. It was really just a quest to see if they were even going to fly straight, and apparently all of them did. And I had luck on that trip. I shot sub MOA with all of them. So that was really interesting. And then it came time to make that video, and I wanted to use a heavier bullet to maybe make more sound on target, make the steel ring a little bit louder. So I went with a 95 grain, even though I'd only shot them 1 time at 100 yards. I decided to take them out to 200 and 300. I haven't really pushed them, so I'm not sure what's going to happen once it gets way out there. The bullets are going to destabilize and do something crazy. I don't know. But at that 300 yard group, I guessed my holdover at 300, and I got a round on steel. So I just sent 2 more after it and shot a group just to see what the group would look like. And from sitting on my butt with a little front shooter's rest that like a hunter would use, it's just like the tall bipods with a little U that you set your rifle in, just some shooting sticks. Sitting on my butt in the desert, I was able to get like a 3.5, 4 inch group, which I think is pretty good because I don't shoot off of those very often. And 2 of them landed really close, and 1 of them was just a couple inches outside of those 2. Like I say, about a 4 inch group across those 3 shots at 300 yards. I went and looked at the impacts. All the bullets looked like they hit dead on. All the splats looked good, just like any normal rifle would look when you shoot a target like that. So at 300 yards, they're still stabilized. They looked fine from my 1 to 7 twist, coming out at 2,500 feet a second out of the muzzle. So that's the data that I have. I think they shot pretty good. That's really all I have to say about the 95s in my personal experience so far. I don't have any 90 grains because they've been out of stock every time I've checked. And also from the results I've seen, I'm not really interested in the 90s. I think the Sierra 90 grains just don't shoot well because nobody really seems to get good results with the Sierras. I do have some Hornady 88s, and I've done a little bit of low development with those as well. I think I've got better performance out of the 95s faster than I did with the 88 ELDs. So I'm waiting to buy a whole 100 count of brass. I think I'm gonna end up buying some Starline, and that's really what I'm waiting for to do real low development. That's why I didn't like continue low development on these 95s yet. It's definitely something I will be doing, but basically I just wanted to see if they were gonna stabilize. So I used my federal brass, which is what I have. I bought a bunch of factory ammo to initially do this, just to get some ideas, break in the barrel, stuff like that. And I've reloaded that brass 3 times now. The primer pockets still seem okay. I'm not really pushing pressure super hard. I'm running up to almost max of Sierra's data. So that's kind of what my experience has been so far. Now the factory ammo groups that I shot all the federal line when it came out. I shot the 90 grains, which I got a few good groups, and then I got a few like not awesome groups. There's a little bit of inconsistencies there. I shot the 75 total metal jacket, which really same performance. I think stuff usually shot about 1 inch to 1.2 inches, something like that. That was pretty consistent actually about how they were flying out of my gun. Nothing spectacular, but around 1 inch. Definitely worth $10. Bought 10 bucks for 20 of them. I think that's pretty reasonable. Then I shot a third type, which is a Federal Fusion ammo. I've seen a lot of people complain about this. The Fusion shot a good group, and then it shot a couple that weren't awesome. So I don't know what to do about that. It was basically the same performance I kind of saw out of the 90 grain Match King. That's what I saw. I have a video on it as well. I'll leave links to a playlist of 224 Valkyrie with this rifle right here, to give you an idea of all the stuff that I've gone through so far. Really, anytime I've gone out and shot this rifle, I've made a video about it. So that's kind of where I'm at. I shoot long range, and I have access to a really long range. I mean, I have the western side of Utah is just wide open deserts. There's nothing out there, and I have access to it because I'm a public landowner. So I get out there and I can shoot really as far as I want. I want a high ballistic coefficient bullet to fight the wind and to help maintain velocity. It cuts through the air better. So I want to shoot the 95s, which they seem to be working out of my 22-inch barrel. This is a match grade machine barrel, if I didn't mention that. Those guys are out of southern Utah. They're working with Untitled Precision, who's out of northeastern Utah. They're in Duchesne, if you know Utah. And then match grade machine is out of Hurricane, Utah, I believe, which is near St. George. So it's cool to have a Utah built upper. I'm from Utah as well, as I just stated. I shoot in the West Deserts of Utah, hence the name West Desert Shooter. So getting into some of the other video responses I kind of wanted to talk about. I've been following GavinToobe is the name of his YouTube. He's Ultimate Reloader as well as Making with Metal. Great channel. Please check it out. I'll leave a link in the description as well. He's a bigger channel. He's got a ton of great content. Well worth subscribing. I highly suggest going over there if you haven't already. So he builds a Remington 700 224 Valkyrie bolt action alongside an AR-15 in 224 Valkyrie gas gun. So what's really cool about that is he can compare gas gun versus bolt gun. So this was today. He just released this video shooting 600 yards. And he went out and he got really good groups. Now he's shooting the 70 grain Nosler RDF, I believe. So his twist rate is 1-7 on both of his rifles, but he was able to get good, consistent, accurate hits, like really good groups out of 600 yards on some small steel targets. So he was doing great. I'm glad to see it shooting that well for him because he built his own gun. He's a gunsmith, so it's really cool. Worth checking out. So if you want to see more 224 Valkyrie results and stuff like that, be sure to check him out. The Gun Collective has had a couple 224 Valkyries in. I think they've had like a JP and a Palmetto State Armory and a second Palmetto State Armory. And they go out with factory ammunition as well as hand-loaded ammunition. And then they shoot at 100 yards, check out the groups. They go out to distance, and then they just kind of talk about the group sizes they're getting. They seem to be getting more inconsistencies than I do. Now, they're shooting a little bit more than me, so maybe that as part of it is you shoot more, you're going to get more inconsistencies. But it seems like they're not really having luck with their 224 Valkyries. They seem like they're kind of on the, I'm sick of this cartridge isn't working out, something's wrong with it. That seems to be where their camp is. And GavinToobe seems to be in more of the camp of like, this is working really well, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. So the whole debate about this is like, well, does it work or does it not work? And I think it entirely depends on your rifle and what bullets you're choosing to run in it. As far as twist rate goes, mine will shoot a 95 grain bullet. It's a 1-7. Yeah, you could put extra twist on it, 6.5, and it's going to stabilize it more. The heavier bullet like the 95 is probably right on the edge of what will actually stabilize out of this. And like I said, I haven't shot it super far yet. I did shoot the 90 grain bullets from shot the factory 90 grain stuff out to 1,000 and 1,300 yards in the wind, and I was able to get a couple hits in there, which is pretty awesome. I was pretty excited with that. At 1,000, it was very consistent. That actually scored me my longest first round impact was at 1,000 yards with the 224 Valkyrie, and that was the first shot I ever took at 1,000 with it. So I had no dope at all. It was just going off a ballistics chart, shot it, and got me on target on my first round, which is a lot of luck, but it was cool to have it happen anyway. So if you're going to run a lighter bullet, then the question becomes, is 224 Valkyrie better than a 223? Now, this is a very interesting question because it gets into the, well, I can go buy 223 like this right here. This is 77 grain match stuff of a 223, and I have a 24-inch barrel on my AR-15 chambered in 223. This is a 223 right here. So the real question is, if you go with a little bit longer barrel, you're going to get the extra velocity like a 224 Valkyrie will produce. Is it worth having the Valkyrie if you can't shoot the heavy stuff? Probably not for you. But I was also talking to Vaughn Precision, and he brought up a point of like, well, and it made me wonder, does it need to be faster than 223? They advertise out to 1,300 yards as a supersonic bullet, but the point of the Valkyrie is you can shoot long, heavy bullets like this 95 grain and load them to magazine length, and they fit through the lower of your AR-15. That's the whole point of the 224 Valkyrie. Does it, if I load it up with a 77, does it need to be faster than 223? Because I think the real point here is I cannot load a 95 grain into a 223 and have it fit through my lower. With a Valkyrie, I can, and that way I'm cutting through wind with a Valkyrie versus the 77 that's going to get blown around a little bit more in the wind, quite a bit actually. I think the ballistic coefficients on 75s and 77s is like high 300s, it's like 390 maybe, somewhere in there, and the Valkyrie is a 0.6 with a 95 grain, 600, which is pretty awesome. Really excellent for a little 22 caliber. Now there are other calibers out there that are faster than the Valkyrie, but very few of them fit through the lower of an AR-15. Like a 22-250, it's going to smoke the doors off of a Valkyrie. It's not a competition, but then you have to bump up to an AR-10 platform, which you probably don't have, and then you're going to have added weight and added size and stuff like that. So it's really like, that's what the Valkyrie is. It's long bullets that fit through your AR-15. Does it do that? Yeah. The real question is it going to stabilize those long bullets? So it depends on your rifle. I don't know. In my rifle, it seems to be doing the job just fine. So that's kind of what that's kind of where my thoughts are on this. Something else I have real questions with is brass life. I see a lot of people complaining about brass life. I'm wondering if they're running their stuff really hot, trying to get the same velocities as like the factory ammo is, or what's going on. If you have a gas gun, it's going to be a lot harder on your brass. I have a bolt gun, so I can run downloaded stuff and I'm not going to have cycling issues, or I can run it pretty damn hot and it's not going to be ripping it out of the chamber while the brass is still expanded. I don't know how many people know this, but in an AR-15, the hot brass that you feel like when the brass comes out and it's really hot, that's caused from friction from the brass getting ripped out of the chamber. It's not because of the explosion. I can take a 300 Win Mag, chamber it, shoot it, pull it out, and it's going to be cool to the touch in a bolt gun. So that's going to have way more powder and theoretically more heat than like a 223 would, and that's going to be way cooler of a shell than a 223 that's coming out of a carbine length gas gun. Those pieces of brass are going to be really hot, and that's where the friction is coming in, is getting ripped out of the chamber. So that's telling me that a gas gun is really hard on components. But I don't know if that's going to affect primer pockets. That's where everybody's complaining, is that the primer pockets get loose. So that goes a little bit beyond my knowledge. Some people were talking about the camming motion and ripping it out, and that somehow that could affect primer pockets. I don't know if that would really affect a primer pocket. My Valkyrie, it isn't in a gas gun, so it's not getting beat up really bad. So maybe if it was in a gas gun, my primers would be falling out and I'd be complaining too. But because it's in a bolt gun, I can very gently lift it and extract it and catch my brass and set it right back down into my container, exactly like you see right here. Nice and neat, just well organized. And that's how I keep my rounds. That way I can come back and look at all the rows of them and see the different charges I've done. So me not having a gas gun, I feel like gives me a disadvantage to knowing what real brass life should be like. But if you want longer brass life, potentially a bolt action is the way to go. As well as bolt actions are just fun, but I also understand that gas guns are fun, and that's the main design of this cartridge, is to be running a gas gun. I just had the opportunity to get 224 Valkyrie in this bolt action upper, and I went for it because I wanted to see for myself what the cartridge is all about. So those are kind of my thoughts on it. I don't have anything that I'm like revealing here. I just wanted to join in the conversation, let you guys know what my experience has been. So far at 100, it shot good groups with the 95s, and then at 300, it shot a totally acceptable group. If I was laying prone, I could probably shrink that group up at least by an inch. I know for sure by that, because my crosshairs are wiggling across play a little bit of timing comes into that. And admittedly, I'm not good as an offhand shooter, or even on those sticks. I wasn't as stable as I possibly could have been. I know for sure prone, I could be way more stable and I could get a tighter group out of that. And I plan to go out and prove that, as well as go farther. So let me know like what distances you want to see. Most likely I'll probably go out and do like a 500 yard group, 800, 1000, 1300, because that's their big claimed number, and then go beyond that as well. One other quick note, Sniper's Hide, Lowlight, I think it's like SH Lowlight is their YouTube name. Those guys have shot a Valkyrie out to over a mile, like 2,000 yards with a little tiny 224 Valkyrie, and they're just doing it for fun, and they got a pretty good sized target out there. But you know what, you need it that far out. It's hard to shoot that far, and they're just going out there to demonstrate that it works. And I think they're on their extreme shot they were using a bolt gun, but I think out to a mile they used the gas gun as well. So it's really interesting. It's really interesting because some people's rifles work and some people's rifles don't. We just need to figure out why they don't. And I've seen people's with 1 to 7 work. I don't know very many people with 6.5s that have had bad luck. That's a real question. How many people have a 1 to 6.5 twist that just didn't shoot? Like, I don't know, man. So those are my thoughts before I just sit here and keep repeating myself. I think we're going to close this video out, guys. So let me know in the comments what you think of 224 Valkyrie. Do you think that the Valkyrie needs to be faster than a 223? And I'm pretty sure if you put the same bullets in each one, the Valkyrie does have a slight edge in velocity with the same barrel lengths. If you're worried about barrel length on these, Precision has experimented a little bit. From a 22-inch, they cut down to a 16-inch barrel. With factory ammunition, they only lost 100 feet a second with the factory ammo. So I think that was with the 90s. So it's not like you're really cutting the legs off of it. I mean, but it's not a really screaming round. Another quick touching on a question or comment I've seen a lot is barrel life. Like, people thought this thing was just going to completely destroy the barrel. It's like 1 or 2 more grains than a 223 is, and really all barrel life comes down to is how much powder you're forcing through what size hole. So you're putting just a little bit more powder through the same size hole as a 223, and 223 is known to have fairly good barrel life. I mean, you can shoot thousands of rounds through them without a problem. Obviously shoulder angle and neck length add a little bit of that, but the shoulder angle is better on the Valkyrie as well as a longer neck, so it should increase brass life or increase barrel life, you ask me, or be really similar to a 223. I think it's something kind of silly to worry about. So those are my thoughts. Just wanted to share them with you guys. I want to hear back from what you guys think. Yeah, so there is a cartridge out there that's probably a Valkyrie killer, but it's just not as well known. It's 224 Grendel, which I'm interested in. I've talked to a guy locally who makes uppers. I'd really like to get my hands on one, and I just haven't been able to line that up with him yet to possibly get my hands on one, go make some videos and go shoot it. But it's a 6.5 Grendel. They neck down to a 224. It holds more powder and it shoots the bullet faster. It's kind of how it works. But it also fits through an AR-15 lower, and then I think they do like rifle +2 on it, and then it cycles and you can run it in a gas gun and works just like any other gas gun would. I really appreciate you guys watching. Please check the description for all the channels I've mentioned. These are just my thoughts. Thought I wanted to be part of the conversation. So let me know what you guys think. We'll see you in the next video.
300 yards. Checking hold. Try 2 minutes. Right on.